and that is, the Crusade for Children, WHAS. So very grateful for that and excited about that opportunity. I think that the purchase, correct me if I'm wrong, will not happen until probably, we're not allowed to purchase until September. And there'll be some wording that's required on the van, just to recognize, where we receive that funding. And that also gives them some, advertising for their grant, because it is donations. But that grant is specific to special education, so.
And WHAS is very generous for us. It's the second time they've given us a grant, and so we're very grateful to them.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Big time. Thanks, very passionate about special education, big time. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And whenever we do get the van, we gotta take your picture along with the board members' pictures, because one of the things that they want is advertising and publicity, so we'll do that and give them a shout out. We're gonna put some stuff on social media too, to recognize them.
We also get our special education teachers and, they're involved since it's.
Definitely. Well, Miss Lily wrote a grant before and received one from WHS, so, yeah, definitely. And the employee specialist would also, that's what Abby does, so she'd be, definitely, yeah.
Especially in pictures and,
Oh, definitely, definitely. I can work. I don't have a problem taking pictures. Make sure they get there, they'll be ready for that.
Maybe get their props if they deserve it.
But yeah, they definitely. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you again.
I really appreciate it.
Next is communication, beginning with the board report, starting with superintendent report.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff. We're trying to get ready for the start of the school year, kick things off. Freshman and new student orientation is, for the high school, is August 5th from 6:30 to 7:30. Sophomore meeting and scheduled pickup is July 31st from 10 to 11 a.m. A junior class meeting and scheduled pickup is July 30th from 10 to 11. And senior class meeting scheduled pickup is July 30th from 2 to 3. And of course, they'll be sending those things out, but once we get everything kind of rolled over. There was a former student that died. You guys probably heard about that. Tomorrow at Madison Southern, they're gonna do like a balloon ceremony at 8 o'clock, and they're encouraging people to come and wear your school colors. Like Berea Community Schools wear our colors, but students from Ferristown will be there, and then Southern, they're actually in each group, because he went to all 3 schools,
Yeah.
to, bring balloons in those colors and to release the balloons. They're gonna do a balloon release, so keep the family, in your thoughts. And just, you can't even really imagine that. That's a tragedy.
My boys actually played football with him for youth league, and then they played basketball with him here in Berea. And yeah, I got to interact with him a lot. And
That's what everybody says. He's such a sweet child, young man,
he's awesome.
big time. And so the guidance counselors at the schools are available, and school social worker if any of our students need to talk. I sent that out today. Just trying to do what we can to help everybody. Extended condolences to David and ask him if there was anything we could do, but he just said thanks, and just kind of keep them in their thoughts. It's kind of all you can do with a situation like that. Just trying to get through it. They've got a lot of support. One thing, we're excited because we have air now on the buses. That's a good thing. So when students are being transported, and this heat, especially, today's a good day to remind us how important having the areas, and kids who have especially health issues and things of that nature. The bus drivers are very excited. They want to make sure that we extended thanks to the board. They're very happy about having the air. Like said, Tony and I, we had so many, that day is like bombarded most of all the drivers and something. So that's really good. They're excited about it. We're happy that they had the air. We actually saved $8,000 by getting it in by June 30th, and before they changed the rates, because we can only get it off of one system, so that's awesome. It's a win-win across the board. So they'll be cool when they're being transported. We have, let's see what else we got. Oh, the solar, another good thing about the buses is we're saving a lot, as far as morale goes, because we always had to hand out water and stuff like that in the heat. Now we don't have to do that. and that's a win too. And with the van that Abby's getting, that's a win too, because it's a lot cheaper to transport our students in a van than it is to take them on a bus. You're saving diesel, more people can drive because you don't have to have a CDL, so that's a win-win too. So I just wanted to also put that out there as well. We've got training scheduled for teachers with aptitude on August the 1st. Elementary will have their training at 1 from 1 to 1:45. And then the middle school and high school will have training at 11 o'clock from 11 to 11:45. We're gonna be rolling out a series of information so that way parents and everybody will know what to expect, but they're gonna give it to us as we're learning. Right now, we're learning what to do with the aptitude, and it's a process, a little bit at a time. Tony, Daniel, and myself are kind of doing things behind the scenes, working with the aptitude developer, and then we roll in different groups at a time. Like there was a training today with principals and Ms. Witt. Well, then there'll be another training that that will involve Mr. French. So it just depends on what it is, how they're being trained, because we're trying to learn as we go. Instead of doing like class dojo, there's a part of the aptitude app, there's a part for behavior that's almost identical to dojo. And so it won't be, we're trying to do things that are gonna be one-stop shop so that parents can just have that one app and then they can just hit everything instead. And once again, Abby, I'll give you a shout out on that, because one day she stopped me in the parking lot and said, Dr. Hodges, is there any way we can just have stuff a lot simpler, but just for parents keeping up with meetings and things like that. But if one kid might be going to basketball practice here and somebody else is going somewhere else and they're getting all these multiple apps. But with aptitude, you can have like one-stop shop. We're trying to create this thing called rooms where coaches who are in district, like the coaches who teach in the schools, can have rooms and they can set things up and they can email out stuff. And that way you don't have to have Reminder one-on-one and all these other different things to keep up with people. When you push a button and we can post to Facebook, Instagram, and send a one call out simultaneously. So that'll be really good too. A lot of good stuff from that standpoint. But as I said, we're rolling it out a little bit at a time because we're learning as we go. They're having to develop things. And right now, we can't send a one call out yet from Aptitude because they don't have that part of it built yet. So it's just a little bit at a time, but everything should be ready to roll on the first day of school. So that's kind of what we're
Including
looking
more
for.
calls.
That's what we're hoping for. And we might even be able to get that part a little bit sooner, but we know that's our target. And then, as far as, the training day, we've got Larry Bell coming to meet with our teachers, and he's gonna cover classroom management, high yield instructional strategies, engagement. He's a real well-known speaker. He speaks across the nation. When I sent it out, one of the teachers, it wasn't even, I don't think, 5 minutes, that emailed that she recognized his name, and she said he was her favorite speaker. And she said she had heard him in years, but she was glad that he was coming to Berea Community Schools. So,
You have a date for that?
it is August the 8th. You guys are welcome to come. It's from 8 a.m. to 2:30. And we'll have pizza that day because there's only a 45-minute lunch break, so we ordered pizza so that we can keep it moving because he's on a tight schedule. And so we're trying to maximize the time that we have with him.
So you at 8 a.m. to 2:30?
We start right at 8 with him.
Okay.
And then we'll take a 45-minute break for lunch and then get right back at it. So too. With him. And if he needs, we kind of put some wiggle room in there. I think I sent it out. I think I said the 3 because in case he got, question and answers, get a little bit. But as far as opening day, that's August 13th. And we'll have breakfast snacks at 7:45. From 8 to 3:30, we'll get Ms. Combs and a variety of place people will be speaking that day throughout the district, meeting all of our compliance needs. So that's a lot of information on that day that goes out. But we also kind of have like a little tradition that it's very short, but it's like last couple of years we've done it with new staff where they kind of almost create their own little thing and they kind of give it a theme and they take it and run with it and it's kind of like entertaining. But it's kind of also a way to just make them feel part of Berea Community Schools and it's fun. So we'll do that day as well. We also have t-shirts that we're gonna hand out to all the staff. You guys welcome to come pick up a t-shirt as well. Welcome to eat with us too because we're gonna have food trucks that day. We've got 3 different food trucks. It was a hit last year, so we brought it back this year. We've got fish and seafood. We have Mexican, and then we'll have like hamburger, chuck wagon type stuff, so they can choose what they want. That is opening day, and then I sent out the charting the course to greatness is our theme, so the chart, we'll have that on there, because that's what, with us being powered, that's what we're doing with the strategic plan, kind of start charting that course, so I felt that kind of work. It's gonna be our theme for the year, as we work together. Speaking of which, the strategic plan, just a quick update on that. We met with Mr. Evans this morning, and talked to him about what was his thoughts about next steps to kick things off, trying to get some ideas of when he had a date to get going, because he's very busy this time of the year. The quickest we could get anything in was like, it's August the 22nd is tentative date that we're looking for. Mr. Gravett and I met with him, with Ms. Knight this morning, and he gave some recommendations of representatives for the strategic planning committee. We talked about all you guys to decide whether or not all of you wanna be on it, or if you do the rotation. He said several boards just do 2 at a time and rotate, that way everybody can take part, but not have to be there every week, every time. He feels like we could wrap things up in 5 sessions, with the last date being Halloween, if not 2 weeks before. So, kinda laid that out, looked at the combination of the board, 3 principals, all 3 principals being on there. Special education representative, director of academics, HR, finance, technology, DPP, or instructional coach, rotation with guidance counselors, mayor, White House clinics, Parsons Berea College, EKU's president, food service representative, transportation, parents from all, parent representative from elementary, middle, and high. Talk about like site-based council, all 3 school representatives as far as teacher, elementary, middle, and high again, but they will tell us, the principals will let us know like who those reps will be. He said that it was very important that the school and central office be part of that committee, because there are people that are gonna be implementing it. We also talked about the importance of having students, male and female, or however, just 2 student reps to represent us, to make sure that student voice is there as well. But that was kind of a combination. Proposed dates were like, August 22nd, September 5th, September 19th, October 3rd, if we stuck with Thursdays, if that was gonna work for everybody. We don't know yet. October 17th and October 31st being the last day, if that were to be needed. He said they might not be needed. The first day, August 22nd, would be a day for an overview, like he did when he met with the board and overviewed the process. He would do that with the committee at that point, so that everybody would know where he was at, what the expectations were. He said there would be some times where there would be lots of people, and sometimes maybe everybody wouldn't be able to make it, you don't know. But he didn't think we should have more than, 35 people? 30, no more than 30.
Max.
Yeah, cause he said after that, you can't really get much accomplished. So looking at 30, up to 30, and that's where we were at with those numbers, cause it adds up really fast. Talked about having somebody that would take notes during each meeting and using a Google form to share the summaries with all the stakeholders, so that everybody heard what was going on. We could put that out with our new system so that people stayed informed whether they were there or not. Wanted to finalize dates, get information, confirmation from site-based council or from the schools on their representatives, and maybe have like a backup list in case people say no when you send out invitations. Some people might wanna do it, some people might not. Just kind of going from that route. But not everybody, like maybe for example, food service. A lot of people don't know what food service does. So having food service come and report out, looking at the SWOT, taking a SWOT, looking at strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, everybody should be there reporting out for that. Like depending on all the different departments will report out, like HR will report out, finance will report out, academics, but just in order to see what's going on in the district, you have to have reports from all the different departments. And so that was where that all came in, is how he was explaining how that would all work. Got like notes on that.
So the reason you talk about rotation of the board members is so it's not considered a special meeting. so they're
Exactly,
nominated.
exactly. He
Yeah,
said Gary
more than
County,
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one or two is considered a special meeting. I got you.
he was naming the different counties and that's kinda how they did it.
Some have done it that way, some have.
Yeah, some had all five.
So it's up to the
So,
board.
it's up to you guys.
There's no set way. It costs us about $600 for all that stuff here.
I'm cheap.
I like the
It's in
decision.
Yeah.
It was,
But if only two people show, it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
But here's the nice thing about what he laid out, is even if you're not there, you're gonna get a summary of every decision that was made, everything, not every single conversation, cause that'd be impossible.
Right.
But the
But
bullet
caption.
points and the important decisions that are made will be shared with everybody, whether you're there or not. So I really like that. That's a good way to do it.
that way nobody is out of the loop and you can get picked back up where you left off. That was one of the key things I think he said.
He also said that he thought that, that first session, if he can, he would like to get to mission and vision. This depends on, at least get that knocked out, because that's the first steps, and you move on to the next steps at the
Right.
next meeting. And some schools do back to back to back 5 weeks in a row. That's what Danville did. They knocked it out in 5 weeks, but they met every week. So I thought it might be better, since school's starting, for us to spread it out to every 2 weeks. Give people time to
That's
think
what,
about it, maybe come up with some other ideas.
Talk to each other.
that's what Gary did in Rockcastle. Rockcastle did 2 weeks and then Gary did every other week. So,
I like that 2 weeks. I do not like the idea of doing a rotation, and I will tell you why. It means that if we adopt that, then we have to, if somebody wants to come, they legally cannot, right? An additional board member. So if or it would trigger the Kentucky Open Meetings Law. And so, in my opinion, setting it up as an every board member can be there every time thing is better, just for the sake of making it possible. And then there's flexibility, right? Like, there doesn't have to be the expectation that every single one of us is there every single time, but I do think that people's democratic representatives should be there.
I agree with you.
Well, I'm thinking though, if we do set it up with the rotation, and if someone does wanna come, then we announce that it's going to be open.
I see what you mean. So then we would have to decide that 2 weeks in advance, right? To meet the advertising requirements under Kentucky Open Meetings Act.
24,
Is it 24 to do a special call?
24 hours.
Okay, all right. Well, then that doesn't. Yeah, that's comfy with me.
I think
This
it's important
month-
if all five wanna come.
Yeah.
Should be able to be there.
I want to be there.
And if you don't wanna be there, then it's fine, but.
Yeah.
Let's prefer those that want to come to be able to come.
It's up to you guys.
But this
It's
way
up to
you
you
get
guys.
both.
Well, if we don't have 3, then it's free. But if we have more than 3, it's not. That's the way it is. But it won't be, the ones that don't show, they don't get the $150, so it'd be less. So 3 people showed, it's only $450, so.
Right.
It's actually $750, I said 600 is
Yeah.
$750.
Yeah, right. Well, you were taking our taxes out of it.
Yeah, I'm taking.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah.
I donate mine back.
Sure.
I don't have any problem with that.
All right, so next up is financial report. Are we finished with that? And where we are, I think that decision can be made at that first, all of us should be at that first meeting for sure. All
I think that's a
board
great
members, if
idea.
you possibly can.
That's what he
And at
suggested.
that time, we can make that decision. We don't have to make it today, but at that time, we'll decide. And it may be that's just, if you come, come.
One of the reasons he said everybody should be there the first one, he was gonna try to do the mission and vision.
Right. He's gonna try. But he also said that he will be very adamant about 2 hours.
Yes.
So wherever we
Stop
are,
wherever you're at.
you
Yeah.
stop. You don't keep going, oh, and one more thing, no, that's the last thing.
So
Have
these,
somebody cut down on
He
things.
said a hard stop, yeah.
Yeah, hard stop.
After 2 hours.
so these would be like a 7 PM timing,
It
We're
would be
looking
from
4 to 6.
4 to 6.
The reason we suggested that is because a lot of the teachers and central staff are already here, for them to come
So
back at
before
7
they
or 6.
leave,
Mhm.
okay.
So,
And
dang.
that's what
That's
several
important.
districts have done successfully.
4 PM to 6.
One was 8 AM or 8 PM
For which
Mr.
one?
Ballard, the student.
Oh, yes, 8 PM tomorrow.
Just for me personally, Thursdays are a lot worse starting in August because I have class in Northern Kentucky at 6:30 p.m. So I would strongly prefer if we could do it for example, on a Wednesday. That being said, the world does not revolve around me, so it needs to be Thursday.
Well, big, so we need to see what.
We have to get back
fits.
to them.
Yeah, we had to check back with his schedule to see.
We'll see what he can do.
It doesn't matter to me. We just suggested that day because we had to do something, we had to come with some numbers and
Yeah,
I mean-
find out where his calendar fits.
Of course.
The
Yeah.
problem is, he told us that this whole summer, he's had 3 days off.
Yeah,
Cause he takes
And
groups
that's
to art
he's getting,
things, he's really busy.
this church are getting their money's worth, it's good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the $1,000 to pay, he's more than getting their money,
Well,
for sure.
Yeah.
He is, he's been very busy.
Next item on the agenda is a financial report, Nathan?
Sure.
So we started the month of June at 6,335,522 and some change. We finished at 5,156,279 and change, and that was expected. That's mostly because of the 5 payrolls that go out in the summer. So that's our summer payrolls. Those costs are a lot lower in July and August because, you know, all the teachers and 10-month staff they won't get paid again until August 30th, so you'll see a lot smaller payrolls moving forward there. We had couple payments on our construction projects, but otherwise, you know, some closeout of invoices. That's what we've been working on, is closing the fiscal year to get our ending balances, get the new one opened. So that's all went pretty well. Food service funds, pretty much the same thing. We had some year-end invoices that we paid out. They decreased about 20,000, 18,000, but they had about 50,000 in payroll costs, 30 of that for the summer payrolls, so that was also expected. It's, you know, pretty quiet on as far as all this goes at the moment, just because we are, you know, we're in a totally different operating mode this coming year, so overall, everything's in good shape at the moment. I know Tony, I think, wanted to address a couple items.
Yeah, I wanted to add on just a couple little things for our grants. We went ahead, as we're trying to close out year 5 on the school climate, to draw down a portion of that for the summer payrolls. So you'll notice we actually have a quite sizable revenue, but also quite sizable expense that went out on Fund 2. So the good news is the revenue that's there is the revenue we drew from G5 to support the school climate, meaning you also have revenue coming in on Fund 2 that we haven't got back for the end of the year for the federal cash. So that's on there. One of the things too I wanted to point out was on our bonds, we did only just a couple months ago, and I don't know if I brought that to everybody's attention, but on our 2013 bond, we have fully paid off that bond. So that bond has been executed, yes. And so the last thing I kind of wanted to add, and this is kind of a little side note, I think last time, as far as that goes, we were looking at streaming options and stuff like that, and I did go ahead and have a quote ready, trying to anticipate folks' needs or wants or desires, whatever they wanted to do. Thinking back through that, I can kind of see how that may have, you know, looked like maybe influencing a decision or something like that. That definitely wasn't the case. Just kind of wanted to throw that out there. We don't really have an opinion on whether we do streaming or not. I just want to make sure we do it well with fidelity and stuff like that. And so as we kind of further look into that, one of the things I've always kind of tried to pride myself on is getting good information to the board to make good decisions. And so as far as that goes, I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. There wasn't anything there to influence a vote with the quote. I thought it was pretty good equipment to do what we're doing, but there's many options out there, so I just wanted to toss that out there.
Okay, real quick, we talked about last month about the spend down plan for the food service area, and
Yes.
to meet requirements, so we wouldn't, I guess, get penalized in some areas. Is that correct?
Well, I didn't hear the last part.
Was there any penalties
Penalties. No penalties on that.
Okay.
The good news is that typically if we don't have an excess, then our general fund would have to pick that up. And when we went to the community eligibility programming, that change, we actually anticipated that change as a board, that could cost us between 5 to 15% on the general fund to supply the free breakfast and lunch. That has never actually came the case. We have kind of promoted the a la carte items, stuff like that. Looking at healthier lunch items and things that have had kids wanting to come in and get those lunches. So right now, that has been an operating unit that has been fully self-sustaining. Our other concern is if the board or the general fund was contributing 5 to 15% toward that expenditure, that meant that there was no funds for future equipment. And that equipment that's in there is very pricey. Cooler can be $100,000, for example, or an oven. And so the good news is when we talk about spend down plans, that's always a good thing. So right now we're at a point that we're in good shape, and we are starting a full audit on food service right now. It's a federal audit. They are starting with procurement, and they look at things, for example, like how do you bid out the products and things like that. But I do expect, typically they like us to keep around 200,000, and we're at about 250. So we're in good spot, but they may have us to spend down a few more dollars, but we're buying equipment and self-sustaining, so it's a very good position for it.
Thank you.
Good question.
Mr. Fridge, I don't think there was a lot of attendance last month.
No, still sitting at 100%, so we're gonna do it. Enrollment so far is at 931, so we're down a little bit from May. The middle school's actually gained enrollment since then. The other two have gone down, but it's hard to really tell now. We won't get a real clear picture of that until after the first day of school. But that's about it. We're working on online registration, and they're rolling in.
Yeah, so they want a true count until then.
Does that include preschool or no?
No preschool, no.
Okay.
Because we don't get funding for preschool, so I never include them in enrollment.
Okay.
Thank you. Next up was the WHAS Crusade for Children, which we have already celebrated. Thank you so much again. And then next is audience comments. Does anyone like to address the board that is not on the agenda? If not, I move for adoption of agenda.
I move amendment to the agenda, Mr. Chair. I'd like to bump down item G, which is when we're gonna go into closed session, and an additional item, which is approval of an appropriation for implementation of the live stream at board meetings. I have a proposal similar to last week, in terms of the language of the actual live streaming, as well as a little bit different, appropriation scheme, so that we're spending a little bit less and getting the result that we need. So, that's it. The motion
Where
is
did
for,
you want to put that?
yeah, I'd like to put that at G, and so then bump down closed session to H,
and
return to regular session to I, et cetera. And well, there's no et cetera, that's it.
Do I have a second?
Wait, let me find it. Okay, so the last page, you
Oh,
know,
last page?
It's
Okay.
on the last page.
So right here.
so you wanna move
Live stream.
into slot G.
That's correct. Just like this for those who can read my terrible writing.
And then G would slide down to H.
So do I have a second on adoption of the agenda with the amendment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up is business consent items. We have the minutes from the June 17th meeting. Approve the financial reports of elementary, middle, and high school. Approval of emergency certified substitute teachers. And facilities used for BHS class of 2000.
I move adoption of the business consent items, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries with none opposed. Next, we have the business action items. We have the second reading of the KSBA recommended annual policy and procedures updates. Do I have a motion?
I motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries with none opposed. Next, we have, I'm trying to figure out where we go from 7 to the students.
Looks like,
Policy reviews here.
yeah,
Student discipline code, Mr. Rabbit, you see it right underneath.
But is that something we're supposed to, is it supposed to be like number 7?
it looks like it's 6B. 6B, we've gone from 6A to B.
I'll review it.
In accordance with KRS 15814.148, the board shall develop a student discipline code that shall be posted at each school, referenced in all school handbooks and provided to school employees, parents, legal guardians, or other persons exercising custodial control or supervision. So, we're supposed to adopt or amend this?
It's reviewed every 2 years, and so that's what we're doing. It's the long story part. If you like scroll down further, it says review, the board shall update the student every 2 years.
So, but we don't have to vote on it, we just review it.
Well, you vote to approve it.
Okay. Do I have a motion then for the student discipline code?
I move approval.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Motion carries with none opposed. I'm trying to find what's next.
It's a,
Still grievances down to,
Reporting, references.
grievances.
Policies.
Yeah.
See,
See?
policy.
Right here.
Policy.
revision of grievance policy.
Yes.
Okay. Policy 94281 outlines the grievance process for students. It has been identified that the policy requires an update to ensure clarity and inclusivity of all relevant harassment discrimination policies. Specifically, the inclusion of policy 09.428111 is necessary to reflect the current standards and procedures.
It was that number that was off, and so that's, we're correcting it.
I move we approve the revision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we, well,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
before we do that, is this in place now and we're just approving that? You go over to general teacher, principal, school council, superintendent, and the board? Okay. We'll go get that. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and the next one is, well,
The approval of revisions to policy.
Absence of Susie.
It's on the very next page.
approval of grievance for teachers, requested. Background, existing policy of student absence and excuses has undergone a review to ensure it aligns with current educational requirements and best practices. Several updates and revisions have been proposed, which are highlighted in yellow and marked in red text in the attached policy document. So these are the changes.
I have a question about
Okay.
number 3 under this one. Does anybody know, can anybody describe the medical excuse form?
Yes, so it's just a form that you give to your doctor. It's a one more level of accountability for the doctors to fill out and then for the student to bring back to show that it's not just, I'm gonna go to urgent care for 2 minutes and then have a day off, you know? We've been dealing with a lot of students who have missed school because of, if somebody's sick, I'm not gonna say anything one way or the other, but we've had a lot of kids who have missed up to 30 days with excused absences, and even though they're excused, that costs the school money and it costs the kid education. So this puts in place a program and a process for us to evaluate students who have chronic issues, which is where this would be, this would be covered, and students who have, excessive use of our I'll also be sending out a letter to our healthcare partners about, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't be excusing for a whole day on some of these things.
Yeah,
So that's where that came in. It's just trying to put some more accountability on students and families to make sure that they're, you know, not missing just because they've got a sniffle.
yeah.
We gotta get back into being in school, and if there's no fever, then they should be here.
Yeah.
No, medical excuse form will be only here at school, or will they be already, say, at doctor's office?
No, they'll have to get it at school to get it,
Okay.
the doctor to fill it out. I'm not gonna give, the doctors wouldn't take it anyway, they wouldn't keep a copy of it. They
You
just,
have to keep up with.
yeah, it's a part of the accountability for the families to say, oh, well, then I'm gonna go to school and get this form, and then I gotta go back to the doctor's office and get them to fill it out, along with a regular excuse to make sure that this, and again, this only happens after 10.
Now, they can, still, they have faxed it over.
Yeah, they can definitely
Yeah,
fax.
I was
all
gonna
that.
say, can we fax like 1 million of these to White House?
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
them set, you know?
Yeah, we definitely
Yeah.
will be, still take faxes, yeah.
Okay,
That'd be
okay, so
good.
we can receive faxes, we can send faxes to the school if you have, after, like you said, 10, after 10.
Yeah, after
excuse,
10,
doctor notes.
10 doctor's notes, you would have to have the doctor's notes and the medical use form.
Okay.
Yeah.
That way. Cause, you know, some people work in Lexington and different shifts, you know.
Right, and this is, I looked at a lot of different other schools' policies, and I think we're the only one around that had unlimited doctor's notes, and it just, it's just not, it's not feasible. I think it's being taken advantage of, and this is a way to, I think the people who use it the way it should be will never get close to 10,
Yeah.
Right.
and the people who don't will have to have some accountability for that. And I guess I should say some of the impetus for all of this is that, Kentucky had some new law put in place that said if you get 15 unexcused absences, I am required to, file a charge of truancy
Right.
against that family or that student, that there's no leeway anymore. So I'm trying to be proactive to make sure, like, for example, instead of having 6 parent notes, we're gonna have 4 each semester instead of 6 for the year. So that's a good way for us to be able to, one, give them a little bit more grace, but also hold them a little more accountable for how they use their notes.
Yeah.
And keep us, hopefully, from having to charge every kid we've got. So there's a lot of changes in that. The big one, I think, for our families that we're probably gonna have issues with, I'll tell you right now, is if they have 6 unexcused absences, they'll be ineligible to participate in extracurricular activities, including walking at graduation.
Mm-hmm.
If you looked at our attendance for seniors last year, you'll see why we have to have that. It's actually been part of our policy for years, but I don't think it's been enforced. And I think the enforcement of it is gonna come this year, because we can't afford to keep doing what we're doing.
With our numbers going down, we
Right.
can't afford to have students out,
Right, so,
if they're healthy, obviously.
right, I'm not, like I said, I would never question whether a kid had to be out of school with a doctor's note, but let's make sure
Some
that.
people are taking advantage.
Right. Well, I know people have. Last year I had a kid who had 30 doctor's notes. We called the doctor's office and they said, oh, we haven't seen that child for 6 months.
Mm.
So they forged 30 doctor's notes.
Well, that's a crime.
Yeah. And that's just one example. So there's a lot of changes in there, but I think it's for the best to get our students and our families here, because they're not learning anything if they're not here, and that's gonna be reflected across the board.
Do I have a motion then for approval of revisions to policy 9123?
I could speak on the motion really quick before we vote, Mr. Chair. I just wanna say, I think I wanna vote now, and I'm gonna say why. I know, regarding tardies in particular, when my kids have been late, it was my fault. You know, it wasn't anybody's fault but mine. And it just seems a little bit mean to punish a kid for, you know, for their parent being late.
But you're holding the parents accountable.
I know what you're saying, but I just don't know that the parents are the ones that feel it.
Well,
And
and well, in this, we're giving notes for tardies, where we've never had that before either.
what does that mean, a note?
So a parent can turn in a note saying, hey, I screwed up, 2 per semester.
Well, I don't, yes, and I think that's good. I don't like that, and I don't like the number 4, and I don't like the barring kids from walking at the graduation. I can understand like putting some restrictions on athletics or dances, but graduation is just a one-time event in a person's life, and that just seems, I just don't think that is proportionate. So I'm voting no for those reasons.
I can see where you're coming from in terms of the graduation, but it is unfortunate that people, some, just a few,
Right.
graduate and they've not earned it and it shows up.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so to be able to say we're giving support for these changes that need to be made along the way is really good policy, I think. So I'm gonna vote for it,
So you're making the motion then?
yes.
You
I
want a
move
second?
we,
I second.
All in favor?
uh,
No.
1 no, 4 yeses. Next up, it appears, is approve the athletic trainer contract. Is that? Okay. In accordance with the Kentucky High School Athletic Association regulations and to ensure the safety and well-being of our students, it is proposed that district enter into a contract with Kristen Peterson, a student at the University of Kentucky, to provide athletic training services for our school games. The trainer will be available at least once weekly and up to twice a week during the term of the contract. The contract seems like it's weird. It starts July the 1st and ends in June of the same year.
Fiscal year?
I think that should have been
Should be
2025.
Yeah, it's a typo.
Okay.
Good catch.
Okay.
Move amendment on this item, Mr. Chair, that the contract shall commence on 7/1/24 and continue until 6/30/2020.
25, correct.
Can I ask what precipitated us needing that?
UK no longer offers it, and they were the ones providing it. And so they now have like they're at the master's degree level, and so Coach Bingham said, everybody's screaming, trying to get an athletic trainer. And so that's why.
I'm confused on the once a week availability. Now, is that for on-site or for games period? Say there's a soccer game, volleyball game, football game going on, they're only available at one of them?
The way he talked about it at the coaches meeting, it was gonna be once a week, so maybe, sorry.
So the current arrangement, we're already paying for that anyway. But as far as the University of Kentucky, we're no longer gonna be contracting with the University of Kentucky. It's gonna be directly with a student athletic trainer. So there's no differences in the cost, but we feel like we need something legally to outline expectations and contractual obligations as far as that goes with the district. Since this is a student, KHSAA only requires that the athletic trainer touch base at least once a week to review injury prevention or current injuries and how they're being treated, things like that. So we do understand that the person should be available at least twice a week or for 2 games a week. But they will have to still touch base, even if there's not a game that week, they will still need to touch base with our athletic director and do that consultation. But keeping in mind, this is a student, and so since we don't have that liability agreement directly with the University of Kentucky and now with the student, we felt like we needed to have a contract in place.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Did you,
That motion, yeah.
and use a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I was going out.
And the next up is the contract for the athletic trainer services. Is that the same one I just kind of got?
I think that the numbering is a little confusing. I think the next one on the agenda is adjustment of student drop-off time.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Oh,
That's right, we're against that, right?
adjustment of student drop-off, that's the next one, okay.
It is, I just didn't see it, I was looking.
I thought we just done the contract, so I was confused,
Yeah.
okay. Adjustment of student drop-off time at Berea. Recommendation, Berea Community Elementary requests approval to change the student drop-off time from 7 a.m. to 7:05. The adjustment is not related to instructional time and will not extend the school day. It's to improve the efficiency and safety of the student drop-off process. Berea Community proposes a minor adjustment. After careful consideration review, it has been determined that shifting the drop-off time by 5 minutes will better accommodate traffic flow and ensure a smoother transition for students arriving at school.
Now, how is that supposed to work?
That's how it's supposed to work.
5 minutes, an extra 5 minutes, you know, why not?
Well,
Do I have
because
a motion?
they get stopped sometimes on their way to duty, and that way they've got that 5 minute kind of leeway to try to help with that. And there's also a big 5 minutes between when the buses are released and when the cars come.
In recognition of our teachers' hard work to get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, I move that option.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries with none opposed. And next up is closed session? No, live stream, I'm sorry, right there in front of me. Next up is, your motion.
Yes, sir. We've talked about the benefits of live streaming extensively. I won't belabor the point on that. The one item that I wanted to raise is that I've had a conversation with Dr. Hatchett and Tony earlier this week. I think that we can make the live stream implemented for a little bit less than $1,000. Specifically, I'm moving an appropriation of $1,000 to cover an iPhone, a directional microphone. We call it a dead cat in video production. What it is, it's an ugly microphone. It has a direction similar to what Tony had originally proposed and the proposal that he sent to me, as well as a tripod for the phone. So it will be capable of live streaming either on Facebook or on Zoom, with the recording then to be uploaded to Zoom or to Facebook. If it's taken on Zoom originally, that would give us some flexibility there. Spoke with Katie Startzman at the Berea City Council. They have done their live streams on Facebook in the past. They had switched to YouTube out of concern about, in particular, Facebook's commenting feature when they were doing it on Facebook did not allow, live stream did not allow comments to be restricted. Facebook has since changed that. Okay, so we could restrict comments so that people can't be saying ugly, hateful stuff while we're on the live stream doing our work, which I think will address Ms. Combs's concerns, specifically relating to the possibility of slander. Yeah. So I think that we should adopt a live stream. I think this is the 5th meeting at which we've talked about this. So if we don't vote for it today, I think I'm unlikely to bring it up again, but let's take it to a vote. So
I'm opposed because I still don't wanna pay the money for liability.
I believe that we determined it is impossible to get liability insurance specifically related to live streaming.
Anything that anybody on the board says, I'm responsible for, so I'm not gonna be in favor of it.
I am not sure that that is a correct interpretation of Ms. Combs's remarks in the document that was sent to us. The board, I don't think, unless a court adopted a novel legal theory, would hold all the members of the board jointly and severally liable for anything that anybody said at a meeting. I'm not an attorney, of course. This is my interpretation of Ms. Combs's writing. I think that what we determined from what Ms. Combs had written is that there has never been a court in the state of Kentucky, although it has happened occasionally in other states, to adopt the theory that a local government would be responsible for specifically slanderous, defamatory commentary made by an audience member on the live stream. Of course, live broadcast technology has existed since radio, so this isn't like a new issue that the courts have never had the opportunity to confront. This is something that Kentucky courts have never held. So it's, in my opinion, highly unlikely that any of us would face legal liability. I think that Ms. Combs' research validates that standpoint.
Could you summarize the gains that you see in terms of moving to?
I'd be happy to. I think, the parents that I've spoken to have indicated that it's difficult for them to make time on a weeknight when they're busy, they're raising kids, to come down to a board meeting in person and participate. I think that there's also a sense that many parents do not know what we are doing here and they want to. And I think that if even one parent, one family, gains a little bit of information about what we're doing here in a way that either builds trust with the district or gives them an opportunity to speak up and participate in a way that maybe they wouldn't have known to, then that's a net positive for us. I think that just in my opinion, the net benefits have therefore the potential to be very high, and the net costs, frankly, are very low. Essentially the cost of equipment.
Other thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not in favor. I'm gonna be curious to see after our strategic planning session, et cetera, if we can bring the topic up again, after we go through this $5 million plus process, and get a sense of how it would be used, appreciated in terms of the people who might remember to tune in and make time out of what they're doing at peak supper and homework time to watch it. But I'm not convinced now that our intended audience
Other thoughts?
would be.
I'm gonna stand because I'm still on the fence on, first of all, cost of, liability. I know it doesn't seem like it's possible to happen, but just the thought of it gives me anxiety that it's possible, that, again, our words can be held against us very quickly. And, I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I love Lushroom, that's why I'm abstaining.
I'd like to do a little bit more research on it before I vote on it, to be honest with you.
So the motion doesn't carry.
Seems that way. Thank you all.
I agree with Dr. Burnside, and maybe it will come up in strategic planning as a weakness that we're not communicating well enough, and so that would be an option to look at it then, but I'm not prepared at this time. Okay, let's go into closed session. So, need to ask you